Everyone thought she was just pretending not to remember. But when the single dad walked into the office the next morning, his boss, normally cold, distant, and impossible to read, looked at him with eyes full of fear, gratitude, and something he never expected. What she confessed next changed both their lives forever. Ethan Malik, a 33-year-old single dad and junior accountant, lived a life calculated around survival: drop his 8-year-old daughter Ava at school, race to work, endure his strict boss Ms. Alina Hart, and then rush home to make dinner. His world was tight, predictable, safe, because he had to keep it that way. Ms. Hart was the kind of boss people feared. Sharp heels, sharper tongue. She never smiled, never thanked anyone, never showed emotion. Ethan always assumed she hated him. On Friday night, after staying late to finish quarterly reports, he noticed her office light still on. He knocked, nothing. He hesitated, then pushed the door open. And there she was, slumped over her desk, eyes glassy, the scent of expensive whiskey drifting through the room. This wasn't her. The woman who controlled boardrooms with ice-cold precision was struggling to stand. She muttered something about a call, someone she didn't want knowing she was drunk. Her hands shook as she tried to gather her laptop. And then she stumbled. Before she hit the floor, Ethan caught her. Minutes later, a private car pulled up outside, the wrong car. Two men stepped out, sharply dressed, impatient, and clearly agitated. Ethan recognized them instantly: shareholders Alina had publicly disagreed with last month. If they found her like this, her reputation would shatter. Worse, they could use it to force her out. One of the men smirked. "Rough night for your boss, huh? How about you let us take care of her?" Their tone made Ethan's stomach twist. He stepped in front of her, blocking their path. "She's fine. I'm taking her home." Both men exchanged glances, displeased. "Move aside, junior accountant." Ethan didn't. He lifted her into his arms, carrying her to his old Honda. A beautiful, powerful woman leaned her head on his shoulder, whispering things she would never say, sober fragments of loneliness, pressure, fear. No one would ever believe it. He got her safely into her penthouse, left a glass of water, wrote a note, and slipped away quietly. The next morning, he expected nothing. Alina Hart was the kind of person who would absolutely pretend none of it happened. She'd act as cold as always. She'd walk past him like he didn't exist. She'd never acknowledge he saved her career and her dignity. That's what he prepared for. But what happened the next day shattered every assumption. On Monday, the office buzzed as usual. Ethan walked in, ready to bury himself in work. But before he could settle, the hallway went silent. Alina Hart stepped out of her office. Not in command mode. Not angry. But pale, nervous, almost fragile. She said one word. "Ethan." Everyone froze. She gestured for him to follow her into her glass-walled office. And when the door closed, she took a long breath. Her voice broke before she could finish a sentence. "I remember everything." Ethan blinked, shocked. He had expected denial, defensiveness, even anger. But her eyes were red, like she'd spent hours rehearsing this. "You protected me," she whispered. "You protected my career, my reputation, my life. You didn't take a picture. You didn't tell anyone. You didn't judge me." She sank into her chair, covering her face with her hands. "And I owe you more than an apology." Ethan sat across from her, gentle but firm. "You were having a bad night. Anyone can." "No," she shook her head. "Not someone like me. I don't get to break. I don't get to fall apart. I've built these walls for years. I didn't think anyone would see me if they cracked." For the first time, Ethan saw Alina not as a boss but as a human being. She told him everything she never let anyone know. The pressure from shareholders, the threats, the loneliness, the expectation to be perfect. The whiskey wasn't an escape, she simply reached a breaking point. Ethan shared his own truth, raising Ava alone after losing his wife, working 2 jobs, hiding his own exhaustion behind polite smiles. Two people who had survived by being strong discovered they didn't have to be strong alone. The next few weeks changed everything. Alina began treating him differently, respectfully, warmly. She checked on him, asked about Ava, made sure he took breaks. Word spread around the office, Ms. Hart had softened. No one knew why. One evening, as Ethan prepared to leave, she stopped him at the door. "I didn't pretend to forget," she said softly. "Because you're the first person who saw me as more than a title. And I don't want to go back to being invisible." Ethan hesitated, searching her face. "What do you want then?" She swallowed. "To be someone you don't have to save, but someone who can stand beside you." That night, he walked out of the office with a strange warmth settling in his chest. Not love, not yet. But something real. Something healing. Something that might grow. And for the first time in years, Alina Hart watched someone leave, hoping he would come back not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Sometimes life brings you the person who sees your weakest moment and chooses to protect it. Not for reward. Not for advantage. But because they understand what it means to break. Healing begins when two lonely battles finally meet and realize they don't have to fight alone anymore.